Hello and welcome to Just Onside. It's Friday. It's day number 5, I think, of the fasting, and I'm really, really feeling it. So I'm glad it's a weekend. I can try and get some recovery, get some sleep in. So I'm feeling rather tired. But what about you, always? You look quite fresh.
Well, I've just filled myself up, haven't I? Because we've already broken our
Yeah,
fast over here. So, no, Friday evening, always look forward to the weekend, of course. It's been another long week with work and what have you. But yeah, 5 fasts in already. I imagine you're about to break your fast in hour and a bit. What time is
hour and
it?
a bit. Yeah, hour and a bit. It's 16:47, which is 4:47.
Yep. Just on
I
that,
think
what are you having in the mornings? Because I imagine you're
uh,
waking up in the mornings to have some
I'm just having a
food.
glass of water. That's it.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's only because I struggle to sleep at the best of times. So if I actually physically get up and have that morning meal, I'll probably never get back to sleep at all. Not to say that I get back to sleep when I have a glass of water, but I try and sort of just have a glass of water to at least go through the motions of having sehri. But I do make up for it at iftar time. So
I'm sure.
I'll be I'll be
I'm
having a
sure you
big
do.
scran.
What's on the
And
menu
I'm
tonight?
it's Nangosh. For those
Oh,
who obviously are Gujarati, he'll know what it is. If you're watching and you're not Gujarati, you're not Indian, it's a meat dish. What is it? Is it beef? I have no idea what it is. Is it sheep? It's meat. Let's put it that way. It's meat with some nice, lovely naan to accompany the meal. So that is something I'm going to look forward to. But that's in about an hour's time. So don't get my mouth watering just yet, Ois. We'll
yeah.
sp we'll speak about a bit of football first. So before we do, the usual stuff, the good stuff, the housekeeping, smash a like, share, all the good stuff. Okay, make sure you certainly smash a like. It's all about algorithms. So if you can do that before you start watching, it will be greatly appreciated. So right, it's a slightly truncated weekend in terms of Premier League. Only a couple of Premier League games to go. It's the international break as well. So what we thought we'd talk about is Champions League draw first, which obviously was done about 2 hours ago. So we'll talk about that first. So OS, your side is still in the Champions League. They had a really good victory, albeit a lucky victory, I would say. But I'm sure you'll sort of say it wasn't lucky. So what do you think of the Champions League draw? What do you think of the Arsenal performance? And how do you fare the chances of your Arsenal plus maybe some of the other teams, English teams in the competition?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when it comes to the Champions League, there were some reactions after the back on the back of Arsenal sneaking through Porto that, Arsenal should have come through comfortably. I could never understand that sentiment simply because this is the premier competition in Europe. Arsenal haven't been in that competition for a while. I mean, these games need winning. These games you don't just turn up, rock up, and just brush the other team aside. This is football at the highest level. I thought Porto were very competitive for both games, to be fair. There wasn't much between the two teams. I know Porto are a few points behind in their domestic league, but genuinely, watching both games, there was really not much between the teams. I think Arsenal were just slightly the better team. I thought away from home, they were unfortunate to lose in the 93rd minute. Similar in this game, I mean, they didn't really concede much, did they, in terms of opportunities? I mean, they kept, I think now with the three group games as well as this one, they've not conceded a goal at home. So, look, ultimately, if you're keeping clean sheets, as the old adage goes, you're always giving yourself a good opportunity to win games, and that's what they did. They created few and far opportunities, but one was enough. Wonderful goal created by Odegaard and Trossard. So look, they've sneaked through on penalties. David Raya, the hero. Uh, Game finished very late in terms of local hours. Kicked off at 12. Finished, I think, best part of just short of 3 in the morning. Went work the next day, worse for wear. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So, yeah, I mean, look, Arsenal sneak through, and look, they are now kind of up there with the big boys, aren't they, in terms of this competition right now? Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Atletico
Mm.
Madrid, just to name a few, Barcelona, PSG. So the last day, I mean, it's a testament to Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. I think you do have to give them credit that they are at this stage. Do I give them much of an opportunity? I think Bayern Munich, obviously, they've been drawn to face Bayern Munich. Looks like Bayern Munich are going to miss out on the Bundesliga after winning
Mm.
10 in a row, it would appear, beaten out by Bayer Leverkusen. Can they beat Bayern Munich? Yes. However, I do think they'll be underdogs for the tie. I'm interested to see how the bookies have it. Of course, it'd be a massive achievement if they can sneak through and then get to the final four of the best competition in Europe. So, look, it'll be very interesting to see how they fare against Bayern Munich. Obviously, they've got huge games coming up in the Premier League. I wonder whether or not getting through. I mean, of course, you want to win your game. So I just wonder what would have happened if Arsenal had maybe fallen on the wrong side of that coin against Porto and maybe just dropped out of the Champions League. Would that have perhaps given them a slightly better opportunity in terms of games preparation as they head into the final 10 games of the Premier League? Who knows? I'm not saying they should have lost, of course not. I'm just saying you just never know how things are going to pan out. Now there is the interesting opportunity that if they do get past Bayern Munich, and it's a big if, like I said, they'll start underdogs. There's the opportunity to play Man City or Real Madrid in the semi-finals. Then you think if both English teams do somehow get through, can you imagine if they're both a few points apart from one another heading into those kind of semi-final games of the Champions League? I mean, the hype, the drama, the noise would be something incredible, and perhaps one that won't fare well for Arsenal in terms of just having those type of games when you're heading for your or trying for your first Premier League title in so many games. So look, you want to win your games. The fact that they are in the European elite of the best 8 teams in Europe, as per the competition, I think bodes well. Give them credit, give the manager credit, sign of things or sign of the progress that they've made. Do I give them much of an opportunity against Bayern? Yeah, I mean, look, they are a competitive team. They're a good team defensively. They are pretty solid. That'll be tested to the max against a European heavyweight. But I think they do start as underdogs for me.
I don't agree with that in terms of underdogs. The Premier League is the best league in the world. So if you're quite close to winning the Premier League, you should be one of the best teams in Europe. The German the German Bundesliga isn't the most renowned league. Yes, Bayern have a wonderful history in the Champions League, but I certainly don't think they're as powerful as they have been in previous years. The testimony is that they're in second place to Leverkusen. So I certainly don't think that Arsenal will be considering themselves as underdogs. I think it's the other way around. I think Bayern will be the underdogs. I mean, there's a nice subplot there as well with Harold Kane. He'll be chomping at the bits, I think, to play against the Arsenal. So I certainly think that Arsenal are the favourites without a shadow of a doubt. Like, even though they sort of sneaked over the line against Porto. This is great news for Liverpool, really. I think the further that Man City and Arsenal progress, I think certainly it's good for them. But I think it's good for Man City and Arsenal as well, because you're sort of saying, well, maybe this is not what they wanted. If you want to be one of the best teams in the world, you have to play in the best competitions. The Champions League is the elite competition for teams in Europe. So certainly, I think for them, and I really don't think it's something that they will be thinking, oh no, this is another extra game. Surely it's something that you want to be in. You want to be, if you want to be competing for the Premier League, you want to be competing for the Champions League. They've got a big enough squad. They might have the odd injury here and there, but I think they've got a big enough squad. So I certainly think that they'll be considering themselves as serious contenders for the Champions League. Likewise, Man City as well. I think Man City will be thinking exactly the same. I'm a huge advocate of the Premier League, so I want it to be an English team that wins the Premier League. So I hope it's either Arsenal or Man City. Your head tells you that it's got to be Man City. If there's going to be any English team that wins the Champions League, it's going to be Man City. But I certainly don't think that Arsenal will be writing themselves off. I think they are as good as anybody in that elite group of teams at this moment in time. So for me, Arsenal are certainly in no way underdogs at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not get it misconstrued. What I meant was that I wonder how they would have fared down the stretch of the Premier League simply having Premier League games to focus on. I'm not saying it's something they desire or would want. I just wonder whether if those penalties go in a different direction, ultimately it is a lottery. I remember thinking it as the penalties were about to be taken, that this is obviously going to go one of two ways. I wonder whether or not, I'm not saying a blessing in disguise. I mean, look, the games are going to come thick and fast for them. I still think they're obviously not the favourites for the Premier League title. I think that much is clear. Do they have a chance? Absolutely. They are top of the Premier League right now, but they've got a huge game domestically next in the Premier League. I just wonder now when it comes to these big games, as you want to be. When you're a big team, you want to dine at the top table. You want to be playing Bayern Munich home and away. Bayern Munich won't have any fans present at the Emirates for the first leg because of a ban imposed on them as per the last game. So look, Arsenal have an opportunity. It'll be a raucous atmosphere. But Bayern Munich's another level up from Porto. Now, what I would say is Porto are relatively defensively minded. Bayern will be, for the most part, still quite an aggressive and attacking-minded team. They are Bayern Munich, one of the European heavyweights. So look, I think it's an open game for sure. It's difficult to say with any clear conviction which team's gonna win, but just because of the European pedigree, I would have to put Bayern Munich just slightly favourites, even though to your point, Arsenal have been pretty solid. It's just more the pedigree. They've been here, done that in terms of playing at this stage consistently year in, year out. So huge opportunity for Arsenal. This is what they wanted. This is what you get ultimately when you want to become a good team. You participate in the Champions League, you get through to the knockout stages, and you give yourself an opportunity. So yeah, fascinating to see how they fare. And like I said, it'll be in amongst difficult games. They've got to play I think, Villa at home in between both legs and what have you. But yeah, can you imagine if both English teams do get through? I mean, that would be incredible in terms of the atmosphere, the subplots, Guardiola, Arteta. Maybe they're both going for the Premier League title, still both alive at that stage. I mean, there's something special about English teams meeting in European competitions. So that is something to look forward to. Let's see if it happens. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich will think otherwise. But yeah, huge opportunity for Arsenal. And I mean, you said they were a bit lucky to get through, but I really don't think there was much between them and Porto. So in the end, Arsenal perhaps just deservedly sneaking through.
I was just having a little pop there, but it will be. It's almost written in the stars, isn't it? Really, because the Champions League final is in Wembley. So to have two English teams play at Wembley in a Champions League final, it will be a wonderful story. So that is a story that obviously will develop over the next few weeks, next few months. All right, okay. There is an international break, so we're going to just quickly talk about a particular topic within the international news story at this moment in time. It's Ben White. It's an Arsenal player. I think he's refused to play for England, or at least did not want to be considered. I know there was some sort of nonsense in the last international call-up. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I mean, is this another indication of player power? I mean, before, back in the day, it was the ultimate honor to play for national for your country. So players now deciding that they don't want to play, whether is this going to be something that's going to affect Ben White going forward? So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, how do you think Gareth Southgate and England should react to this? That a player's decided that he doesn't want to play for England, but obviously he's going to continue playing for the Arsenal. So it's not as if there's a reason. There's a reason why he's not playing. There is a reason, but it's not because he's got some reason which prevents him from playing football. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, look, we've got to be careful about this one because there's so much that we still don't know. It's a very unusual story. If you remember, during the World Cup, he was chosen, selected for the World Cup, and then was, I wouldn't say sent home, but both parties agreed that it was best for him to leave the squad. Now, at the time, it was rumoured that there was some falling out, perhaps with Steve Holland, Gareth Southgate's number two. Gareth Southgate at the time played his cards close to his chest, didn't reveal too much, as is I think the right approach at the time, given the competition was going on. I don't think you want to cause too much unnecessary attention. I think the challenge for him has been, in terms of trying to keep the story under wraps, is the fact that Ben White's been playing incredibly well for Arsenal and has established himself as one of the premier right backs in the Premier League. In the last league game against Brentford, for example, when he got both assists, right, for Declan Rice's goal and Kai Havertz's goal. So he's been a huge part of that defence as well as contributing offensively. So the fact is that given he wasn't going to be part of the squad, Gareth Southgate was always going to find it hard to keep playing coy, right? Which is why he kind of played it off at the pass and explained that he's made it very clear through Edu, Arsenal's kind of sporting director, that he does not want to be selected for England for international duty. Now, It's hard to say why that is. I mean, look, it could be a number of things. Ben White, for those of you who have followed, I mean, obviously you're a huge fan, played for your club as well, but he's admittedly not a huge football follower. He says he loves playing the game. He's not super passionate about, in a sense, following the game or what have you. He doesn't really watch much by his own admission. Again, that's neither here nor there for me. He's a damn good player. But you wonder what it is. It could be a number of things. Look, maybe there's a certain sense of whether it's homesickness, whatever it might be. There might be a number of reasons. So I don't really want to get too much into it. The angle that I would go off is, if he has made himself unavailable for selection, I just wonder whether or not, as years go by, if it's something that he'll come to regret. And what I mean by that is, I think when you're playing the game, as for most professionals at any level, if you get the opportunity, it's not just to represent your country, but also potentially win major honors. That is something that kind of goes down in history. That's something not just for your legacy. Some may not care about their legacy, but it's a great opportunity, isn't it, to put your kind of imprint on international football, getting honors with your country, winning it with a group of lads. Obviously, this is a really top, in a sense, level of skill and ability in terms of the footballing options that England have at their disposal. I mean, just look at the players that they have. When you think about yesteryear, just to now, I mean, incredible footballers in terms of the ability that they have, and some of them are incredibly young as well. So there's probably another 2, maybe 3, 4 competitions where they should still be present for England. Ben White's clearly got at least maybe 2 competitions in him, if not 3. So, look, I just wonder whether or not, for whatever reason, maybe it's homesickness, maybe it's just the fact that he's been wronged previously by England and he just doesn't want to, just wants to keep enjoying his football for Arsenal. I'm looking at it from the other side, where on a human level, on a more personal level, if it's something that he might just regret as the years go on, where he thinks, I was at the peak of my powers. And look, it's his decision, I'm not getting into it. It's entirely his call, no issues, no judgments. But you just wonder whether or not, as years go by, when you're perhaps not the player that you once were, if that makes sense. Ian Wright often speaks about this. He spoke about it on Monday Night Football the other day, didn't he? Where he spoke about how just that itch with regards to not fully presenting his country at a major competition really irks him even now, disappoints him even now. He spoke about how he wasn't selected for one of the major competitions, cried for a week. So I just think Ben White might just grow to regret this over time. I don't say regret, but I think it's just something he might look back on, especially if England go on to win. I mean, that's something you want to be a part of. Ben White clearly will be part of this squad. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Whether or not he thinks he'd just be going there to make up the numbers, and the fact is he'd just be carrying the old drinks, as they say in cricket, or what have you, it is something for him to share, really, if that's what it is. But look, clearly he doesn't want to represent England right now. Nobody really fully knows the reasons why, but ultimately it's his call. Is he a disgrace? No, I don't think so. I think, look, a lot of players do make these calls from time to time. I just think it's one. I don't know what your thoughts are. I worry, just more, not worry, but on a more personal level, I just wonder whether or not that's something over time, when in the cold light of day, he'll think, perhaps should have gone.
I'm not sure, but whether he'll regret it. And you alluded to the reason why I think he won't regret it is because I think he's quite indifferent to the game. I think he likes to play, but he's indifferent to the game. And I think it's, as a player, he's outstanding. I mean, I certainly will always have a soft spot for Ben White because he was instrumental in the promotion season we had on the PL. So he is an outstanding footballer. He is really pleasing on the eye. He's superb. He can play in a variety of positions. Obviously, he's playing right back. For us, he was playing centre back, and I think he did a more than capable job. So he's a very versatile player. He's an extremely gifted footballer, but he is admitted himself that it's not the be all and end all. And I think, again, you alluded to it, that whether he's going to be was surplus to requirements. And I think that's the thing, because he is not as passionate as others. He's thinking, I'm not going to be playing. I'm not completely enamored with this, with or England is everything. So he's thinking, well, I don't want to go there for 2 weeks or whatever the duration is, 1 week, just to be staying in a hotel and training. If I'm not playing, then I don't want to be part of it. And I think that's probably, he's obviously not going to say that because that would be damning for Ben White. But I think that's largely the reason. He's not somebody. Ian Wright is a different specimen, a different animal. He is just football, and representing England meant everything to him. Uh, I don't think it's the case with Ben White. So I hope there's repercussions because I'm never keen on players picking and choosing and determining when they play for England, when they don't play for England. If there's obviously some exceptional reasons, fine, I can understand that. But not this where
I
he
mean,
probably thinks, well, I may not sort of get as much game time as I want, so therefore I make myself unavailable.
yeah, I mean, look,
But that's my opinion.
no, fair enough. But he's not picking and choosing when he plays and when he doesn't. He's picking and choosing that he doesn't want to play. I think that's pretty simple, isn't it? He's made his
Well,
call.
I think if you're picking when not to play, in a sense, you are
Yeah,
deciding,
yeah, but yeah,
aren't you? Really, you are deciding as to when you want to make yourself available
yeah, fair. That's a fair point.
for
But I think, look,
selection.
yeah, I mean, look, for England, the only thing I would say is, I mean, look, I'm not defending. I'm defending his right to make that call. The fact is that England will be fine without him. Look, he for me would have had a decent chance of playing. I think the thing with Southgate is he's incredibly loyal. So Kyle Walker's playing, hook or by crook. Kyle
Yeah.
Walker will be playing in that first game if he's fit. Now, some would argue, I could make the argument that Ben White has been better than Kyle Walker this season. But we know Gareth Southgate, as per his current selections, that he's incredibly loyal. Kyle Walker will play. Now, what you mentioned earlier might be the case where he's thinking, look, and some might say this is quite self-righteous, fine. But to your point, let's dig a little deeper. If he's a player who thinks, look, I'm just not that good following the game when I'm not playing, and some might say, well, you might be risking that at Arsenal. At some point, he may lose his spot at Arsenal where there's huge amounts of competition with Timber and Tomiyasu and others. But maybe he just thinks, look, going to a European competition, because that's what he's doing. Forget the friendlies. What he's saying is, I don't want to go to the Euros in the summer, and the Euros are 4 weeks long, and he's probably thinking, look, I'd rather get a holiday if I'm just going to be carrying the drinks. Some might say that's a little bit kind of self-entitled and self-righteous. Fair enough. I think that's fair enough. But he's probably thinking, look, Arsenal is my priority, as opposed to perhaps what winning a competition would mean by playing maybe best part of 20, 30 minutes for England at a European competition. Some might argue that, look, it's not just about playing, it's about being part of the squad and helping in multiple different ways. It takes all sorts, right? All types of characters to win a major competition. But maybe he's not made of that stuff. Maybe he just thinks, look, I want to play. If I don't think I'm going to play, I'd rather do a little bit more with my time. And to be honest, there's a part of me that does respect that to some extent.
Not when it comes to international duty. I think when it comes to representing your country, I think it should be. I think it should be. I mean, it's not now. It used to be the pinnacle of a sportsman's career to represent their country. I don't think it's the case now. I think if you ask a player, they probably sort of say, "Oh, like winning the Champions League is much more desirable than perhaps winning the World Cup." But I think the England players available at the moment for Southgate, I think England are there is something special happening uh, in England, or at least in terms of England football, because we've got some wonderful players, some really, really generational players at this moment in time. And I think Ben White is one of them. I think he is. I think he's an exceptionally gifted player. And I think the good thing with Ben White is that he can play. He can play centre back. He can play right back. He can play middle of the park. Now, with the riches that we have at our disposal at the moment, he's not going to play in the centre of midfield, certainly. But certainly he's got the capabilities of playing centre back or right back at this moment in time. But I just think that it's wrong. It sends out a wrong message. But it doesn't surprise me about Ben White.
Yeah, but the only thing I would say, and it's a nuanced point, is that Gareth Southgate, as is his prerogative, gets to pick the team he thinks is best equipped for England to win the European Championships and these friendlies, and then the run up to the European Championships. That's his prerogative. That's his call. We've seen with Gareth Southgate, however, that he is loyal. He picks players that you often think, that's questionable. But look, ultimately, I defend his right to make that call. The flip side to that is you're also alienating players who might think, well, hang on, if he's always going to be loyal to players irrespective of those particular players' forms, pedigree of football that they might be playing in, let's say in Jordan Henderson's case and what have you, if some players don't think that they are necessarily getting a fair shake, why can't the players to some extent take it into their own hands and say, fine, if the manager also gets this power that irrespective of form, fitness, and the quality of football that one's playing, still they tend to rely on players who have done well for them in recent times. Again, as is their prerogative, you've got to slightly then bend to the will of the players as well, where they say, you know what, in that respect, then I'm not going to I'm not going to waste my time if I'm putting forth a high level of football, which Ben White clearly is, yet I'm not necessarily getting picked or given preference over some other players. I'm not saying that's the case here. Because ultimately he was, I mean, Gareth Southgate wanted to pick him, didn't he? But whether or not he would have played is another matter. So I think on the one hand, what I'm saying is if a manager is going to get power, and we say, you know what, fair enough. I don't think then we can just argue, well, it's your country calling and all the rest of it. I'm thinking some players are going to rebel and think, well, hang on, I'm there full of form, full of fitness, playing at the highest level. Yeah, I don't get any type of kind of not preference, but I don't get selected accordingly for my national team. So there's a part of me that thinks that's just a natural consequence of a manager sometimes favouring players who might not be up to the standard right now, but have been good for him in the past. This is just the other side of that coin, isn't it?
I can understand if it was, I mean, with Henderson, Maguire, players like that, where perhaps if you're a player in that position and you feel that I mean, Henderson to me shouldn't be in that England squad. I think that does send out a bad message. But you're right, that shows more loyalty rather than good decision making, because I certainly sort of think that Jordan Henderson is, especially now with his move away first to Saudi, and now he's obviously playing in an ordinary league. I mean, I don't much think that the standard in the Netherlands is that high in terms of the league. So I certainly am surprised with that, but it doesn't surprise me in one way because of exactly the reasons why you said. So that I could understand if you were a player in the middle of the park and you were overlooked because of Henderson, then I could understand you turning around and saying, well, look, don't include me in future squads because absolutely no point, because this is something which is fundamentally wrong, that you are picking a player a player of lesser ability. That I can understand, but with 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 Ben White, I mean, he's got somebody who, I mean, Kyle Walker. I've got to say that it's a difficult choice. I mean, there are people that have picked Kyle Walker. There are people who pick Ben White. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, but Gareth Southgate is picking Kyle Walker every day, twice on Sundays. You know
And you
that, I
can't
know that.
argue with that because, as I said, it's a decision where you can't really argue. You can probably make cases for both players or make a case for Ben White, but really, Kyle Walker is a top quality right back, and he's a player that perhaps sometimes. I mean, he's got perhaps, I would say, slightly more defensive qualities than Ben White. Ben White is still, I would say, a centre back who's playing right back. Kyle Walker is a right back, and he's a damn good right back. Plus, also he's got electric pace, pace that has got him out of jail a few times. And maybe when you're playing at the very highest level, it's a quality you can't underestimate, the pace that Kyle Walker has. So I can understand why Southgate would pick him. That I can understand. Henderson, no, that's a mystery to me. I can't understand that at all.
Gareth Southgate. I mean, look, like I said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who makes right back PFA Player of the Year, right? So that'll be PFA Team of the Year, I should say, for the right back position. You'd think right now it's between Ben White and Kyle Walker. Look, I think Kyle Walker is incredible, and I know Kyle Walker will play for England because that is Gareth Southgate's propensity. That's what he does. He stays loyal for the most part, and also he's a defensive-minded coach. It's his quandary right now as to who to play next to Declan Rice because he doesn't trust Bellingham to play that role. Fine. So it's a question to see whether or not he plays forward and wide. I mean, the team for the most part right now picks itself, to be fair, with Saka, Bellingham, Ford, and Kane, Rice. But it's one other that he needs to find, right? Which is why it'll be interesting to see how he manages it. It's one of the reasons why he keeps bringing in Henderson. There's still some rumblings about Calvin Phillips, but he will not make the European
No
Championship squad.
chance.
No
No
chance.
chance. I mean,
But that's one of the reasons why it'll be interesting to see if Kobe Mainu can find his way into the squad or somebody else and what have you. So look,
or even Archie Gray. You did talk about Archie Gray.
moving on. So the thing is,
You say moving on.
when was the last
Hear
time
my
England?
words.
When was the last time England took a player to a major competition from the Championship?
I don't know if Theo Walcott was in the Championship, or was he?
Exactly. And he didn't play a minute. So
Yeah.
look, and that was one criticism that was leveled at Sven Göran Eriksson. But look, in the end, let's see. I don't think it's. I would have liked, like I said, I would have liked to have seen him because I think he's been very, very. He's been Kyle Walker's equal this season. I
Mm.
genuinely mean that.
Yeah, yeah, I
In
agree. I
in
agree.
all aspects. So
I agree.
maybe he just thinks it's a waste of his time. And fair enough. I don't really, honestly, I just don't have too much of an issue with it because he's not disrespecting. He's not making a song and dance about it. He's simply saying, look, don't select me. It's fine. So
Yeah.
it's fair enough.
Okay, that's your thoughts. That's I've offered my thoughts, and the viewers, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If it's a matter that interests you, I mean, England sort of football or international football isn't as popular as it used to be in terms of even from fans. So I'll be interested to find out if you have got thoughts on that. If you have, pop them on the comments. Right, let's finish the show off with there's a big game at the weekend. Two big rivals playing in the FA Cup, Manchester United and Liverpool. Manchester United first. I mean, it's a season. It's been a funny season. We've talked about them many, many times. Or we've talked more about Ten Hag and Manchester United. So it's looking like it's absolutely desperate that Ten Hag wins something. Now, this is probably the only thing now, really, that he can really focus on. So uh, I'm sure Man United will be giving it everything. Whether they have enough, I'm not too sure. But do you think it's Ten Hag has to give it everything now to have some sort of salvation in the season?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Really, I don't think even the FA Cup, unfortunately, will save him. I would be amazed right now if he's manager of Manchester United next season. Honestly, I think it's gone beyond the point of can you salvage the season? I'd give him huge credit if he was able to win the FA Cup. Don't get me wrong, in and of itself, an achievement in and of itself shouldn't be poo-pooed, cup and what have you. I just don't think United or Manchester United, the hierarchy will look upon it as such to say, no, that's enough sign of progress that we're going to give you another season or two. Whether that's deserved or not, I'll leave it to the United fans. I just think that's what's perhaps going to happen. Of course, you want a credible candidate, but I think there are one or two perhaps on the radar. I would imagine, like I said, a certain Brighton manager might be getting perhaps some options this summer. Just normally when it's new ownership, they very rarely stick with the current incumbent, let's say, for too long. They've had to for this season because you don't just come in and just start ripping it all up. But I just think they will move into a different direction. That's what I think. That's what I sense. I don't think this game really matters in that respect, whether or not he needs this for his job or what have you. What he does need it for is to salvage, to your point, a fairly average season for Man United. Champions League qualification looks difficult right now. 8 points adrift of Aston Villa with an inferior goal difference as well, Ayub. So look, I think Champions League qualification through the league looks difficult. Even if they manage to get it, who cares? They're not ready yet to kind of challenge with the European elite. So for me, it's a moot point to some extent. At least Arsenal, like I said, you could argue, look, they got into the competition for the first time of asking in many years, and now they're in the quarterfinals. So you never know. So I just think the motivation from a United perspective is internal. The fact is that they need to salvage something from this season, but also the fact that they perhaps get to knock off their oldest rivals, let's say, in Liverpool, especially with this being Klopp's final season. So there is that motivation as well to try and prevent Klopp from perhaps landing another domestic trophy as they hunt a quadruple, being already present in the Europa League. I think they drew Atalanta in the knockout stages. So look, Liverpool still feeling pretty good about their game. Good performance, great performance against Man City last time out. Really well placed in the league. I think they will be top of the Premier League, to be fair, after the next set of games, but let's see. But yeah, from a Liverpool perspective, Jurgen Klopp, obviously we know what this is about, the final knockings of his Liverpool career. So it's a huge game. It's the last time. I think they do have to play one another, don't they? I think before the season ends.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah. Anyway, look, the fact is one of the final times they'll be playing Man United. So it'll be very interesting to see. Wouldn't be surprised if United did nick it. They are at home, but I'd still fancy Liverpool to go there and somehow get the job done. To be honest with you, some of their players are returning. Salah, you mentioned, looked a bit rusty, didn't he,
Yeah.
against City? Aside from that one through ball for Diaz as part of his first action after coming on as a substitute. But yeah, Liverpool will be relatively confident that they can go there and beat United. United will be desperate to avoid Liverpool coming into their backyard and winning again, which again will not reflect well on Ten Hag. You would imagine the locals will voice their frustration if that is the case. Huge game. Interested to see what happens. I fancy Liverpool just to maybe edge it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. I think with the players returning, Salah probably has got a little bit more mileage in his legs. Other players returning as well. The kids are doing fantastically well. So I think Liverpool are just in a good space at this moment in time. I think there is a great deal of. I mean, it all comes down to Jurgen Klopp. Everybody's. Uh, I mean, apart from maybe odd fans of other teams and I think it's just written in the stars that this is going to be it's going to be a wonderful fairy tale ending for Klopp. So I just sort of see him winning the Europa Cup. That's the easiest of the lot. The FA Cup probably obviously will be a little bit trickier because there's some big clubs in there. The league is that's the key one. I think that's obviously the one that you want to end with, and really that would be the most fitting finale because I can't wait for that final game at Anfield. Now, if Liverpool are either playing to win the league or they've won the league, I can't think of a better place to be than Anfield on that day. I think that's going to be the hottest ticket in town. Uh, I'm trying desperately to get a ticket. It's impossible. It's like gold dust. I mean, that game, or anybody who's obviously going to be in a position to sell tickets for that game. So I think against Man United, I'd be amazed if it's a close game. I really expect it to be quite a straightforward, simple game. I know they are arch rivals, but I think Liverpool have just got too much, and with them playing for Klopp as well, I just think that it's going to be a bit of a walk in the park. I think with United, we've talked about their issues and their problems. When they've won games, it's been a struggle. So I just can't see it against a team of Liverpool's ability that they're going to get anything out of it. So I predict quite comfortable win, maybe about 3-1, 4-1
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Liverpool.
If Liverpool get to another cup final, will you be gracing Wembley with your presence?
I will be trying my darndest to be at Wembley again. It's a wonderful experience. I mean, I'll be trying absolutely to be there. But if not, I'll be watching it on the telly.
It was funny actually because on the last episode you spoke about how when you hear "You'll Never Walk Alone," it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And I remember thinking, if you heard that rendition after the Carabao Cup final against Chelsea, that was an incredible rendition from the fans, from the players, Klopp, everybody was there. It was incredible. Yet you'd already made your way up north, 4 hours up north, back to Blackburn. So you should have stuck around because
Yeah.
that was some rendition that the fans belted out at Wembley. But who knows? You might get that opportunity to
Yeah,
watch it firsthand
I
again.
mean, hopefully, as I said, for me, it will be a wonderful season. Will obviously be Liverpool winning things, but most importantly, Leeds and promotion. That ultimately is really what I think for me would be what I want. So I mean, we've not talked about Leeds, so I'm going to have to slip that in. So
Well, just so what I love is, I mean, the fact is Leeds. I mean, they're doing incredibly well, winning games in the Championship. They won't be winning many next year, so let's just get used
well, I
to.
hope well. Let's get to the Premier League first, but we've got a massive weekend again this weekend. I mean, we talked about it briefly on the Monday show, but again, it's a massive weekend. So there's we're playing on Sunday, so we've got a chance to watch Ipswich play Sheffield Wednesday, who uh, if Sheffield Wednesday can get a draw, and they're in a bit of form. I mean, they got beat by us, but they were on the back of 5 wins out of 6, I think, or 4 wins on the bounce. But they were on a reasonable run, so it's not going to be a walk in the park for Ipswich. I don't know how they're going to react from that absolutely. It must have been a distressing defeat to have to concede 2 goals in injury time. and from a winning position to lose the game. And obviously, because it's such a critical time of the season, I don't know what the impact's going to be. But if they can if Sheffield Wednesday get a draw, that sets us up beautifully for our game on a Sunday against again another resurgent Millwall team. They've been playing all right under Neil
Ooh,
Harris.
Leeds,
So
Leeds and Millwall. I mean,
yeah. So
let's just leave that right there. I mean, there'll be
yeah.
a
I mean,
few
it's
shenanigans, perhaps.
yeah, and especially now. I mean, they'll want to be the party poopers because we've got an opportunity to be top of the league, irrespective of what the Ipswich result is. We have got an opportunity to be top of the league if we win by 2 clear goals. So, and Millwall being Millwall, the fans will be up for it. And I think with Neil Harris back at Millwall, I mean he's Millwall through and through, so he'll
Yeah.
certainly sort of want to sort of do a number on us. So
Will,
it's not going to be an easy game.
yeah. Will you be going down to support the old firm, Ayub?
No. I'm fasting, so it's my physicality is quite weak at the moment. So if it does kick
Oh,
off, I
you
won't
ain't,
be able to do anything.
yeah, you ain't gonna be no use to anybody, are you?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
be
So
honest.
I think my I'm better off just being at home. So
Yes.
but it's an exciting weekend for all sorts of reasons. One, it's Leeds potentially going top of the championship. We've got the Liverpool Cup game as well against Man United. So a lot of good stuff happening over the weekend. So and on that note, I think we'll probably sort of call it a day and let
Yep.
people enjoy their weekends. So what's your plans for the weekend?
Might be heading to Abu Dhabi tomorrow.
Oh
So
yeah.
that'll be interesting. Might be my first foray driving out here in
All right.
Dubai
Okay.
tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Got to get used to driving on the other side of the road and what have you. Got my driving license the other day. So
Oh
that
okay.
was
Okay.
yeah, that was another step in the process and what have you. So yeah, I'm gonna drive tomorrow. Hopefully all goes well. Got to remember in terms of which side of the road to drive on and what have you. So no, it should be good. And then let's see, Sunday might bring about more relaxation. I'm interested to see how the fasts are over the weekend over here. They're not too bad Monday to Friday, but it'll be interesting to see how it is on the weekend when you're gasping for a little bit of water and what have you. So yeah, let's see, bit of relaxing.
Well, mine should be quite straightforward because I'm going to try and. I mean, the plan is just spend as much time in bed as possible, and the weekends are a piece of cake. So, I mean, I just
How's
in
that any
between getting up
different?
for prayers.
Yeah,
No, during the
how's
week
that?
I've got to get up to
Yeah,
work. I mean,
you got to do that thing called work, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to do that. So that obviously sort of is a slight spanner in the works.
Well,
But
how does the good lady take it? The fact that you just want to lie in bed there all weekend.
it's the good lady doesn't take it very well. I mean, she doesn't take it very well when I come home from work and go to bed.
Oh,
And I can.
I thought you were gonna say the fact that you come home from work. Oh, he's back again.
And it's where the bedroom is. It's like the kitchen is underneath, so you can sort of see, well, hear her in the kitchen as she's preparing for iftar. It's like nobody else is in there, and she's like talking loudly, with the intent, obviously, making sure that I hear what she's saying. So that's it doesn't work.
Oh,
Well, it does work. I do go down because I sort of think it's I'd rather go down and just listen to 5 minutes
yeah.
of abuse rather than 15 minutes of abuse. All right, but that's my weekend. So right, that's our weekend. Hope you have a wonderful weekend for all those who are watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye now.